Have you ever stopped to wonder what really separates a good company from a truly great one? I don't mean just a successful startup, but an organization that becomes an icon, one that lasts for generations. It's a question that pretty much obsessed researcher Jim Collins, and honestly, his findings might just change the way you think about success itself.
It so often starts with a moment just like this one. A personal, kind of terrifying, but also exhilarating leap of faith. The dream isn't just about a business plan. It's about refusing to let a comfortable, safe life just suffocate a masterpiece. It's about launching yourself over that chasm, just like Collins' mentor Bill Lazier said so perfectly. And that's the hard truth, right? Thousands of people take that leap every single year, full of passion and brilliant ideas. But the brutal fact is, most companies, they just flicker out. They have a good run, and then they just fade away. Only a tiny, tiny fraction ever get to what we'd call enduring greatness. So what's the secret sauce? What's the one thing that makes all the difference? Is it that once-in-a-lifetime idea, a totally flawless market strategy? Or is it something deeper? Well, the answer Collins' research points to is probably not what you're expecting.
The answer kicks off with the first, and I'd argue the most transformative, principle from all of Collins' research. It's a concept that basically flips conventional business wisdom right on its head.
The normal way of doing things tells you to start with the what. Figure out your destination, your strategy, your product, and then go get people to make it happen. But what Collins found is that the great companies do the exact opposite. They start with who. They pour all their energy into getting the right people on the bus, and just as importantly, getting the wrong people off the bus before they even figure out where that bus is going.
Just think about Steve Jobs coming back to an almost bankrupt Apple in 1997. You'd assume his first move was to sketch out the next insanely great product, right? But he didn't. His number one priority was people. He focused on finding the passionate believers, the ones who still bled Apple's core values, way before he turned his mind to a new product line. And look, this isn't just a nice story or a gut feeling. This principle, and all the others we're about to cover, are built on a mountain of hard evidence. Collins and his teams dug through over 6,000 years of combined corporate history to find these patterns. The data is just overwhelming. Greatness starts with who.
Okay, so you've got the right people on the bus. That's a huge first step. But how are those people supposed to think? Well, this next stage is all about building a culture of disciplined thought. And that begins with staring some hard truths right in the face.
Collins named this the Stockdale Paradox, after Admiral Jim Stockdale, who survived 7 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. Stockdale said the optimists were the ones who didn't make it. They'd say, "We'll be out by Christmas," but Christmas would come and go, and they'd be left broken. The Stockdale Paradox is this incredible duality. You must have absolute, unshakable faith that you will prevail in the end, but at the exact same time, you have to confront the most brutal, harsh, ugly facts of your current reality.
Now, with that mindset of brutal honesty, you can find your true path using what Collins calls the hedgehog concept. Think of it as finding the sweet spot where 3 circles overlap. The first circle is simple. What are you deeply passionate about? Not just a hobby, but something you feel like you were put on this earth to do.
Next, you gotta apply that brutal honesty again. This isn't about what you want to be the best at. It's what you truly can be the best in the world at. And if you can't be number one, well, it can't be your hedgehog concept. And finally, the economic engine. This is the practical, numbers-driven question. What single metric, your profit per X, is the key to your financial health? When your deepest passion lines up with what you can be the best at, and it's all fueled by a smart economic engine, boom, that's your hedgehog concept.
So you can see how these first 2 stages, disciplined people engaging in disciplined thought, they form this unbreakable foundation. You really can't have one without the other. And it's this foundation that makes everything that comes next even possible.
So with the right people and that crystal clear mindset, it's finally time to act. But greatness doesn't come from one big dramatic moment. It comes from disciplined, consistent effort that builds and builds until it has this almost unstoppable momentum.
Collins uses this incredible metaphor, the flywheel. Imagine a giant 5,000-pound metal disc. Your first push barely nudges it. You keep pushing. With this massive effort, it finally completes one turn. You keep pushing. The second turn is a little easier. Then the third, the fourth, until breakthrough. The flywheel's own momentum takes over. That's how great companies are built, through the compounding effect of consistent, disciplined action. So how do you keep pushing that flywheel? With a 20-mile march. This whole concept is about having the fanatical discipline to hit a real performance marker over and over with relentless consistency. It's not about going 40 miles on a sunny day and then 0 on a bad day. It's about hitting your 20 miles every single day. Good times, bad times, doesn't matter. This discipline creates calm in the middle of chaos, and it's a huge sign of a company that's built to last.
This brings us to a really important question for you to think about. What is your 20-mile march? What's that one core metric that if you hit it with total consistency will keep your flywheel turning towards that big breakthrough? It's a really powerful idea to apply to pretty much any goal you have.
Okay, so we've built a successful company. We've got a powerful flywheel spinning. But how do you make it last? How do you make sure it becomes a great company that endures long after its founders and leaders are gone?
This is the last and maybe the most important shift in a leader's thinking. A time teller is a genius with 1,000 helpers. If they leave, the whole company just collapses. But a clock builder, well, a clock builder gets that their greatest creation isn't a product, it's the company itself. They build a culture, a system, a clock that will keep on ticking long after they've moved on.
And now, looking at this, the full map just makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It all flows together. You get disciplined people who engage in disciplined thought, which leads to disciplined action. That relentless process builds the flywheel's momentum, all with the final goal of building to last, of creating that clock that will tick for generations. It's a clear, powerful framework for getting to greatness.
In the end, though, what's it all for? Collins wraps it up perfectly. He says all these principles, getting the right people, finding your passion, building a clock, they aren't just about business success. They're about creating a life that actually means something. Because, as he says, if you get to do meaningful work you enjoy, with people you genuinely love and respect, you have already won. And that might just be the most enduring lesson of all.